thank you for being on this call on your spring break.
I appreciate it.
You know, and that was a little challenging for us here.
I wouldn't miss it, Ray. You know that.
Yep. But anyway, so kind of a little bit, John. Look, man, we got a lot of great things happen here. We're super excited about it, and with ICANN Financial and with Life Plan 360, and it's just, this really is a lot going on as a company. And you and I were talked briefly this morning, and you told me you were up all morning reading about stuff, and so. And that's what I like about John, guys. He's always kind of reading, kind of staying ahead of the curve, and that's a sign of a true champion and a true leader, someone who's really kind of always studying their craft, and even when you think that they don't need to be studying or learning more. So if you're not learning, then you're not growing. So John is always learning, always growing. So I appreciate that, John. So. Again, this is a new format on Zoom here. It was new for us, obviously. We did a good job of proving that this morning here, kind of, getting this late start. But we're going to get it figured out, so it's gonna be cool. And so eventually, what we'd like to have is everybody will be able to see everybody else and see the faces of everybody on the call and so forth. So it'd be kind of cool to see all that. So John, just real quick, you brought Life Plan 360 to ICANN Financial, and you really did a really good job educating us on the system and the program and how it works and all that stuff. But I want to kind of just go a little deeper or a little bit back, if you don't mind. I kind of want to talk about the banking industry as a whole. And because a lot of people are just starting now to figure this out, or starting now to understand this, and why the banking industry is not really working. Why isn't the banking, or the banking as we know it, the banks that we know today, why is it not working for us as adults, as we're in our lives now? We grew up thinking, hey, we got to work hard, put our money in the bank, we got to save, we got to have a savings account, we need a checking account. I remember as a kid, my dad took me to the bank to get my first checking account, and so that taking your money to the bank was always instilled into our heads, from a very early age. But now we're older, we're wiser, we're learning now that the banking is not really the best thing for us. And why is that?
Well, thank you for having me on there right now. Is there a feedback going on?
I don't hear any feedback.
Okay. I feel like there's just a lot of feedback.
It could be from the phone.
Hold on, let me try something. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The banking industry, when it was first created, everybody needed it. You just had to have it, right? You put your money in the bank. But then in the 20s, when the stock market crashed and then the banking crashed, all the way through that process, when they shut the doors and locked people out of their accounts, from there on out, the banks tried to figure out different ways to figure this thing out. And what they were trying to figure out was how to make more money. That's just the reality. How do they get more money out of us? In 1933, the Federal Reserve, the gold reserve, confiscated all the gold in America, and they had to do that to back all the money that they had. So in the banking industry, they had what they called reserves, and reserves had to be kept inside the bank in cash. So if the bank needed to lend money out to a lender, a borrower, they needed to have a way that protected themselves in case somebody defaulted and they had the money inside the bank. Well, they weren't making enough money that way. They weren't lending out enough money that way. And they found a way to create what they call fractional banking. And what the fractional banking allowed for the banks to do was to lend out money on a way grander scale and bringing in more borrowers at a less risk to the bank. I'll give you an example. For every dollar they lent out, they had to have $1 on reserves. Today, they can lend out $10 for every dollar they have on reserve. And the other second part of it is that they go through there. If they lose money, if the bank crashes or whatever, we all saw it in 2009, right? TARP rolled out, and now they can create money. They can print money whenever they want to replace their money. So the whole concept of banking has been changing. If you really do your research into how banks really work and why they work and who they work for, you would never use a bank again. Honestly, you would never use a bank again. It's about one of the most corrupt industries that is out there. You can go all the way through Wall Street, and it's all connected, and how they go through the process of taking advantage of us. I'll give you another example. In 2005, you could call the bank and say, hey, I needed 100 grand. And basically they'd give you a signature loan for 100 grand. Well, after the banks got all their bailout money, if you go back and look at where that money went, that money didn't go to the consumer. They found a way to create themselves as an investment bank. So they could take that money, invest it into equity, securities, whatever they wanted to be able to get a greater return, because the subprime dropped. And right now you can go get a mortgage, I think, for 3% or less. Well, the banks need to make 4% on their money. And if they don't, they can't even cover the cost. So where do they need to go make the money? They need to get out and get into higher risk investments. So why would they? I'll give you an example, Ray. If I could lend you $100,000 and make 3%, or take that $100,000 and invest it into equities or whatever it may be, and I make 18%, why would I ever lend you the money? So all that money that was created for the banking industry under TARP, it was supposed to go to the consumers, the small business guys, to start jumping their businesses. But there was very little of it that reached the consumer. And the reason is that the banks made way too much money on investing it on their own. And it left us out here beholden to the banks. Then you got to look into when 2008 occurred and 2009 occurred, they went through and restructured how to get a loan. So instead of just making a phone call and a signature loan, you had to go through an entire process to get the money from them, i.e. credit checks, background checks. You had one glitch, you don't get the money. And if you do have a glitch, they raise the marginal tax or loan rate to you to borrow the money. But the reality is you are now in a position where you don't know if you can get the money. Another example about what they did, if you have a home and you have $200,000 of equity into it and you lose your job, or you don't even have good credit rating, you can't get that money out. Why would anybody put yourself in a position to do that? I don't understand it, but I know why I did, because it was the same concept of, hurry up and pay off your house. People just thought they did that because my grandparents lived in the recession. And when the banks closed, they went to the mortgage holders and said, hey, we need you to pay up your mortgage or we're going to foreclose. If you didn't pay it on the spot, boom, they tacked a piece of paper on it with the sheriff right there and kicked you out of your own home. So the goal was for people to pay off your house as fast as possible. So if the banks did a foreclosure on you, they couldn't foreclose if you had it paid off. Well, the world's changed since then. The bank industry, they created the FDIC. They could protect up to $250,000 of your investment. Well, what if I have $2 million in the bank and it closes? I lose all my money. Maybe I get to 250, but I lose the 1.75. So there's so many facets of the banking industry that is insane, that people that use it have to be using it because they don't understand. That's the only reason I could think about it. I use it for my checking. I use it to, for debit payments, but the banks are going to be in serious trouble in very short order because the world's going away from cash. Well, the banks aren't going to be really a necessity because we're going to be able to trade in crypto. We're going to be able to trade in all different varieties of currency. So the banks have to figure out new ways to make money, and the consumer is probably the least profitable way for them to make money. So that's just a little synopsis. I'm not a fan of the banks,
Yeah.
if you can tell.
Yeah, I can tell. No, that's good, and that's a lot of great information about the bank, and the banking business, the banking industry as a whole. And a lot of people don't really understand that. So, so that's probably really important, John. What you're doing, with LP360 and just in the program, and and the boot camps that we do every month, and here at the home office in Dallas, and then we do in-person boot camps, we do virtual boot camps. It's just the whole educational process. Because look, times are changing, right? I mean, who would have thought 10 years ago that a little coin called a Bitcoin would be what it is today? Who would have thought these things are happening? So, like it or not, times are changing, times are moving. Things that were once what we thought are really not as they are, and i.e. the banks and the banking system and all that. So it's up to us to kind of learn about this. And so, so again, John, you've been on the forefront of this, for quite some time now. And so that's what was really intriguing when you brought LP360 to ICANN Financial, and the concepts behind it. Because, be honest with you, when I first met you, well, not the first time I met you, but the first time we sat down and talked seriously about LP360, ICANN Financial, we were already looking at banking systems. We already were doing different things, looking at, we saw a trend. We saw what was happening. And I shared this in the last boot camp, the importance of this, because if you look at the insurance industry, look, if you want to look at your future, you got to look at the past, right? You got to look at, what you have to look at the past to look at the future. And so for us, I talked about, the evolution of the insurance industry as a whole. And, and it started, way back when. Insurance has been around for thousands of years. But let's just bring it up to current speed here. Like, we all know A.O. Williams and how that started. A.O. Williams was a guy, was a high school coach who was selling insurance part-time because he wasn't making enough money as a high school coach selling insurance. And so back then, the big product, surprise enough, big product back then was whole life, right? They were selling whole life. But Art didn't, what he thought back then, what kind of changed things and what made kind of things revolutionary, was he said, look, forget about whole life. Let's sell them term insurance and teach the client to invest the difference. Okay, that was back then. Okay, that's 100 years ago, right? Not 100 years ago, but a while ago. But by him doing this changed everything. It changed everything because what happened was he created a revolution. He created a movement. He single-handedly changed the insurance industry as it was known back then. Because back then, it was a door-to-door guy selling whole life insurance and all that stuff. And he said, no, let's buy term insurance, take the savings from the term insurance, and invest the difference. And by that crusade that he created this movement that he had over 1.5 million people come through A.O. Williams. Now, the impressive part of that, John, was that 750,000 individuals weren't even licensed to sell insurance, got their insurance license as a result of this movement. Okay, that is power. That is power. Now let's fast forward a little bit. Now went to final expense and all this stuff, right? And then in 07, 08, 09, the big thing was the mortgage protection insurance, right? Mortgage protection insurance. Why was that a big movement? Again, A.O. Williams created multiple upon multiple thousands of millionaires and six-figure income earners through his organization. then it changed into the mortgage protection era, and back in 07, 08, 09. Okay, so that was another that was the next big wave of insurance agents coming into the business, right? That's a big deal because back then the housing market, right? The housing market was big. Back then, you know, you get a house for stated income. You have stated income. You like, you know, like Oprah Winfrey. You get a house. You get a house. You get a house. Everybody get a house. All you had to do is state your income. It could be whatever bogus income you stated on there. You get a house. I mean, it was absolute crazy, right? So the housing market just blew the F up, right? Now, I didn't say it, but you know, but you know, but it blew up, right? It blew up. Now mortgage protection became a big deal because all these people were buying houses. Now these insurance agents say, hey, look, let me protect your mortgage by wrapping a insurance policy on it, and you have a 30-year policy, 30 to protect your 30-year mortgage. What was that policy? Term insurance, basically, right? Now, but that was a big wave, and that created multiple upon multiple upon multiple millionaires within the industry. Now, let's fast forward. Now, we're going into a new wave, a new era with the insurance through banking. Now, guess what's working now and what's not working? What's working is the whole life insurance.
Right.
Whole life insurance is working. As a matter of fact, whole life insurance always worked. It never stopped working. It never stopped. Whole life has always been there. It hasn't gone away. And so now people are like, oh my gosh, what were we doing over here? Whole life is the way to go. Okay, trust me, 27 years in the business, I've been there and seen it. I've been involved in the mortgage protection industry. I've been involved in the IUL craze that happened in 2009, 10, 11, 12, which was a big deal, the IULs. Been a part of that, huge part of it. I made a lot of money in IULs, but the whole life has always been there. And so now, John, now going into the whole life side and the banking side, I truly feel in my heart of heart and my gut of gut that this is the next biggest wave into our insurance industry that's going to revolutionize and change the world. It really is an insurance. This is going to be just as powerful what A.A. Williams did, and that's why I talk about A.A. Williams, because what he did is he revolutionized and he changed the insurance world as it was known back then. I feel in my heart of hearts, John, that the banking industry, banking through insurance, is going to revolutionize and change the world of insurance all over again because we're changing the mind of the people's banking system. People now are empowered to become their own bank. That's huge, John. People are empowered to become their own bank. And now we here at ICANN Financial and Lifetime 360 have created the software that makes this so freaking easy. I almost said it, but so freaking easy that this is going to make the revolution that much greater, that much more simpler, that much more powerful, that much more effective for our agents than ever before. I mean, John, am I off base on anything that I just rambled on for the last 5 minutes about?
As far as I'm concerned, 100% of what you said is what everybody should be hearing constantly. There's literally nothing that you're saying that isn't true and that's not going to happen. I'll give you another really interesting perspective to look at this. So go back to 29 through 39 when the stocks crashed and when the banks crashed. Everybody moved their money into what vehicle? They were terrified of the stock market and they were terrified of the banks. Where did everybody house their money? Whole life insurance. Whole life insurance has been around for 200 years. But what happens with everything, when something is doing really, really well, like the taproot of something, and you're not getting the acknowledgement or admiration that you want, you twist it and add a little thing to it and now package it with a little twist or a gimmick to sell it, i.e., how about just take the cash value and throw it in the market? We'll call it variable insurance. How about we'll tack it to a guaranteed interest rate and call it universal, or we'll tack it to the index and we'll call it IUL. There's just so many different ways. We'll make little ones and make it guaranteed issue and call it final expense. Here's the reality. Everybody had a fear of being in the banks, and everybody had a fear of being in the market. And then when A.L. Williams and Dave Ramsey came around, because they didn't know how to package it the right way and package whole life insurance the right way, they found a gimmick to sell a product. But here's what the issue is. The people that were in whole life pre-Dave Ramsey, pre-A.L. Williams, weren't in it because of a gimmick. They were using it because they hated the banks, and it was their bank. They put their money in there. J.C. Penney started his company. Walt Disney started Walt Disney via his life insurance. All these different really, really huge companies couldn't get a loan from the bank, so they took it out of their life insurance. But when this crazy thing called Dave Ramsey said whole life insurance is evil, and he started selling it to the churches, it changed the perspective. And then A.L. Williams said, buy term and invest the rest. Well, all of a sudden during that same time, the Ted Bennett created the 401k. Companies started canceling the pensions, forcing tens of millions of Americans to take their money and put it into the stock market to create their own pension. Well, you look at the stock market for 80 years, it was making 3 or 4%. And all of a sudden, when the stock market went on a boom in 90 to about a 12 to 13% rate of return for about 7 years, it's because everybody were forced out of their pensions and had to be forced into the market. Well, the market was making 12%. So Dave Ramsey said, get your money out of whole life insurance. It's evil because it's guaranteed to make 6%, and get it in the market where you're making 12%. And the whole life insurance companies are evil because they're making 16, 17%, but they're guaranteeing you only 6%. And if you're not making 12%, fire your advisor. So what happened is that everybody saw this boom and they created gimmicks to sell life insurance. So let's do mortgage protection. Let's create bank on yourself. Figure out how to buy a car with life insurance, or put a bunch of money in life insurance and then take it out and pay off your house or pay off your debt. They all created gimmicks to sell a product. What all of them failed to understand is what the movement in the 20s and 30s was all about. They hated the banks. They knew the banks were corrupt, and they knew the market was fixed and it wasn't designed for the average person. But when the shift occurred, the fear of being in the market was replaced with the fear of not being in the market because you were ridiculed, and you're still ridiculed today. People go through, and I meet with them all the time, and we're going through their assets, and they go, oh, by the way, I have a whole life policy. You know, my dad started on me when I was 18. I've had it for 35 years. And I show them without a shadow of a doubt, it was the best investment they've ever made. The returns are greater than any investment they've ever made, and it never had risk. So here's what's happening with Life Plan 360. We're going back to the roots of what life insurance was designed for: to eradicate and eliminate the banks, and to eradicate and eliminate the need to have all your money in the market. By creating your own bank, to stay out of debt, to create and capture the greatest amount of cash flow, it's the American dream. Don't buy on credit. Don't take on debt. Build a bank of your own that if you need money, you can go to your own bank, take money out and buy what you otherwise would have went to the bank to borrow money from. But Ray, here's the irony. How much money do the largest banks in the world have in whole life insurance? Hundreds of billions of dollars. Why? Tax breaks and guarantees. So they're all out there telling you to put it in, borrow their money, or put it in the market, and yet they have over $100 billion combined in whole life insurance. So if whole life insurance is so evil, then why are the banks plowing billions of dollars in whole life insurance? So here's the beauty of Life Plan 360. We do not sell a product. We do not sell a system. We sell a way of life that the consumers have been craving since the annihilation of whole life insurance back in the 90s with Dave Ramsey and A.L. Williams. We've changed the way that people think, going back to what they all want. They want a vehicle that they can go get money out of without the government telling them they can't take it, without imposing a 10% penalty. They want it guaranteed to grow. They don't care if it's not making 8%. They just don't want it to lose money. And they want to be able to have it in a fashion that if they lose their job, they can take as much money out of it as they want without getting a credit check. They can go buy a house. They can go buy whatever they want. They don't have to tell anybody. Nobody gets told when you take money out of your life insurance. And then when you get to retirement, you can take and spend all of your money out of your 401ks, your 403bs, and everything else, and have a double legacy. Most people have to die for their heirs to benefit from their estate, their hard work. But what if you could ram all the money you can and save it, pay cash, but when you get to retirement, spend all your money and leave 100% of your net worth via the death benefit, tax-free and probate-free? So the change in the kind of like the atmosphere of what's going on out there, people know the system's rigged and they're done. They don't want to participate. But the problem is every broker in the world is going to perpetuate the lie, and every bank in the world is going to support and perpetuate that lie. Why? Because we're taking hundreds of billions of dollars out of the market and out of the banks and putting them into what the people really want. They want these plans. They've been searching for them. They intuitively know they exist, but everybody that's not in Life Plan 360 is out there trying to sell a product to make money, and nobody's out there to try to help the client. They think they are, but when you give advice, if the advice you give isn't in their best interest, you're self-serving. So we don't sell a system, we don't sell a product, we sell a solution to a way of life, and our clients build their wish list product. And 100% of the time, Ray, guess what product it is?
Whole life.
Every single time. So if that's what they build as their wish list product, then why don't they have it? There's a reason, and everybody knows, but nobody wants to talk about it. I do. I'm going after Dave Ramsey. I'm going after all these guys that are creating a lie and perpetuating the lie that whole life insurance is bad and evil. Because in the last 17 years, I have never met a client who didn't pick whole life insurance as the vehicle to store their money in to create their bank. They still have their 401k, they still have their 403b, but they crave whole life insurance as a bank to keep them debt-free and to buy things with cash so they can preserve their cash flow always. That's why we're different.
So John, real quick, I mean, you said something that's really, really powerful there, and I want everybody to hear this, because the banks. So if you go to the FDIC and you search any bank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase Bank, I mean, you go through all the banks, the majority, I mean, the banks are using what, John?
Whole life insurance every single time.
The banks go back, and I challenge everybody on this call, go to FDIC, go look at the banks. The majority of their money is in whole life insurance. Can I get a big hello behind me there? Hello, right? Hello. The banks are doing this. The banks are using whole life insurance, and they're letting you borrow their money that they are using from whole life insurance. The, the jig is up. Jig is up. So the banks are doing this. So all we're doing here is trying to show you and to empower you to say, screw you to the banks, and you become your own bank. Why can't you do the same thing?
Amen.
John, the bank, how many times did the bank use $1?
10 times.
10 times. So the bank uses that $1 10 times. John, how many times can an individual like you and I, during this concept that we're talking about right now, how many times can we use that dollar?
One time, over and over.
Over and over, again and again and again. So guys, so the power, we have the power. We have to able to do this. No, John, so I know we're kind of talking things. This is kind of cool, actually. I'm kind of digging this. This kind of like reminds me of a little podcast, so everybody's kind of listening to a podcast, and we might be on to something here, John. We're going to talk a little bit later about this. But this is kind of fun. I like this. But John, so we're talking about the banks. This is important. I mean, this is huge. We're talking about a revolution within the insurance industry. We're talking about a new wave that's happening within the insurance industry. And, and guys, the people who make the most money are the head of the wave, right? So, I mean, imagine being one of the few people that were the head of a Facebook or Amazon, or you hear all this cliche before, and a lot of people's like, oh well, it's not like a dream, but but it's reality. For those people that were head of those waves, it is a reality. For us, people that weren't head of the waves, we're like, oh man, it must be nice, or it's not a reality for us because that seems so far fetched. That how can I be ahead of Facebook, or how can I be ahead of the wave on Amazon or iPhone or whatever? But guys, look how big this is, that what John's talking about. The banking industry, the banks, the insurance. Okay, we are in a insurance industry. It's the insurance companies, it's the insurance industries that bailed out the banks when the banks were in trouble. Okay, so we as licensed insurance advisors are in the most powerful financial industry on the freaking planet.
Amen.
Okay, now encompass that. Now we're getting into the banking side of things. Okay, what makes the world go around, John? Money. Okay, banks, insurance is money. Here we are. So here you guys, all of us on this call, us included, have the opportunity to make a massive amount of money because we are being ahead of the curve. We're being one of the first ones talking about this. And John, what's even more exciting is that iCan Financial and LP 60 came together and created this phenomenal software. A phenomenal software where you can sit with the client. Okay, and you guys know my story. I have severe dyslexia, speech impediment. I have learning disabilities as a kid. I'm really not all that great at stuff. But you know what? I tell you what I would do, because this software is so simple. It's so complex and so non-complex. It's very, very simple, and so it's so easy. Where what I would do, John, and I'll let you kind of capitalize on this here in a second. But what I would do, John, because this software that we have, right, our own software that we own it, it's so simple. It does the selling process for you. It does the math for you. It does, it tells you what to say, when to say it for you. It does all these things for you. For someone like myself, with my learning disabilities, my speech impediment, my early on in my career, I had fear of talking to people because of my speech and all this stuff. I could literally sit side by side with somebody with my laptop, side by side, and just go through my laptop, go through the software with the client side by side. And the client could build out their own plan with this software. Build out their own plan, John. I mean, talk about that. Talk about the power of that for a second, man. I mean, look, guys, we're talking about a lot of big stuff right now. I mean, the insurance industry, the movement, the banks, the money, and now, and we have the concepts, we have the tools. So, John, talk about that part for us as advisors. I mean, talk about getting wealthy, making a lot of money. Talk about the power of that and how easy it is for the agent, the advisor, to become extremely wealthy and catch the wave before the wave even starts.
You know, I kind of equate it to this. If you could just sit in front of somebody and say, hey, I feel like making $15,000 today, and I'm going to change your life. Are you excited to do it?
Absolutely.
That's how simple the software is. It's not a joke. What happens with advisors mentally is this. When you go in to see a client, and that's if you can find a client, right? You got to figure out how to get in front of somebody. And that's the part we haven't talked about much, but here's the point. You get in front of a client, you're trying to figure out how to make money off this guy. Where's the free money sitting around? Do they have cash flow that they could fund an IUL or something? Is there a rollover over there? Can I get some AUM? And what happens if the client you're sitting in front of, they don't have any money? Our system is based off of two things, logic and emotion. We use math and facts to prove that the way that they're doing what they're doing will never work. And they keep doing it over and over again, and that's called insanity. What we do is ask them a simple question. If we could show you a different way to live, and it was availing you the opportunity to live debt-free, pay cash for everything for the rest of your life, have a guaranteed amount of money that you need at retirement, and it will be guaranteed to be there when you retire, a guaranteed income in retirement for the rest of your life, greater than 150% of what you were living off of before you retired. And when you die, you can leave 100% of your estate to your heirs tax-free and probate-free. If I could do that for you, how would that make you feel? That's the entirety of the sale, right? So when you go through that and they say, you know what, great. So here's how LP360 works. We figured out a way how to show a client that they've been duped, that what they're doing is never going to work, and they just keep doing it over because there's safety in numbers. We then show them how to rearrange what they're doing to do what they always wanted and knew existed. And then we tell them, I don't want to tell you where to put the money. I want you to create the best wish list of what you would like the greatest product in the world to look like. And when we find it, you can put your money in it. 100% of the time, it's whole life insurance. So we've identified the problem at the very beginning, but we don't tell them what their problem is. We use logic for them to see it. And then they go, wow. And then we ask, if we could get you out of this, how would that make you feel? Great. We get them out of it by them building their own plan, and they look at it in disbelief and they go, oh my gosh, this was so easy. Why didn't anybody show you? Okay. Why didn't they show you? Because they're greedy. They wanted to keep you in debt. They wanted to keep your money in the market. But the reality is, when you ask a client, how do you want to preserve this perfect plan? What product do you want to put it into? They say, I don't know all the products. And I educate them on the different products. But then I ask them to build their own product. and they always pick whole life insurance, always. So here's the point. If you could just read the script and use the 5 slides that are in the software, there's 23 inputs. And at the end of it, the client tells you they want to put their money in life insurance, and you say, fantastic, I'm licensed, I can help you, let's go. It's literally that easy. And Ray, one of the things we'll do on another call is talking detail about our lead systems that we have to get people in front of them that are just astronomically powerful. So there's so much, Ray. There's so much to unpack. It's so hard to do it in 45 minutes.
No, absolutely. John, I know we're giving everybody a lot here on this call, and but this is a powerful message that we're seeing here. I'm getting a message here. People asking if this call be recorded. Yes, it's being recorded. We're going to share it. Also too, we're going to I'll try to share it on our social media accounts as well, on Instagram and on our Facebook page. So make sure you check out iCan Financial and LifePlan 360 on Facebook and Instagram. And you'll see this recorded version of this as well. It works on the email. But John, this is really powerful message we're talking about, and I know we talk about it a lot, and we talk about it a lot because it is that important. It is so important, guys. This is a whole new revolution, and you are a part of this whole new revolution. Just imagine back in the A.L. Williams days, guys. That guy literally changed the industry upside down. 1.5 million agents went through his organization. 1.5. 750,000 people weren't even licensed. Those 750,000 people, a lot of them, do you know who they were? They were clients. They were clients that got excited about this. So imagine what you're going to do for your clients. Imagine how excited that they're going to be. Your clients will be a great prospect. But guys, look, we have the software. We have the software that's mind-blowing. It's so simple, so easy. And John, we don't have time in this call, but I think this call deserves another call. And we need to talk about the other guys out there who's doing similar things that have other type of softwares that are not even hold a stick to what ours doing. There's no other program out there, guys. And I challenge you to go out there and find, don't take my word for it. I challenge you, go out there and find another program that has another software that is strong and it's powerful and it's potent and it does what ours does. You're not going to find it.
Hey, Ray.
Yeah.
I've added this all the time. If anybody could show me a better system and a better software, I would switch immediately because I would be misrepresenting helping clients. If somebody could show me a better product than whole life insurance, I would switch in a second. But it has to fall into the category that that's what the client wants. Here's a really funny twist, Ray. A.L. Williams said, buy term insurance and invest the rest. Hey, everybody, that's what we do. We buy term and we invest the rest into whole life insurance. That's what a non-MEC with a paid up additions rider is. We buy term and we invest the rest into whole life. It's a blend between the two. So if you could buy term and invest the rest into a guaranteed investment that got you a guaranteed rate of return, tax-free, penalty-free, and you die and leave all your money to your heirs, we conquered the A.L. Williams and Dave Ramsey theory, and we made it even better.
Fantastic. Guys, that was powerful. Give me a little thumbs up, or give me that's an awesome in the chat box there. So I know y'all are getting this. Let me see it. Go ahead in the chat box. Give me a thumbs up. Give me something here so I see it. There it is, man. Awesome. I see awesome. I see wonderful. I see a thumbs up. Fantastic, guys.
Hey, Ray, while you're doing this, I just wanted to add another part that's really interesting. When an advisor goes out and tries to figure out how to make money off of a client, what if you never had to do that again? What if every single person you meet, needs this, and you know you're going to make at least 10 grand in 1 hour. Hello. And if you've been at boot camp, you know what this means. Can I get a whoop, whoop?
Yeah. And if you don't know what that means, then you need to get your ass to boot camp so you kind of know what that means there. But, we're getting a lot of really cool messages here, John. I'm not sure you can see on your end, man, but people are saying fabulous. And
Yeah.
we even got a
Jose, somebody said, how do we find clients? This is hilarious. We don't. They are looking for us and they find us and then we get them to you. We don't find them. They find us. People are looking for this, guys. So look up Simon Sinek, The Power of Why. He talks about you better know why you do what you do. Watch it. Watch the full video. It's 18 minutes. But he talks about if you can get 12% of a population to do something, they are called the early adopters. That's who we are. This is not a pie in the sky thought. Nelson Nash, who created the infinite banking concept, of which all banking platforms are on, and all thanks go out to Nelson, God rest his soul. But the beauty is that Nelson said if we could get 10% of the population to do this, the other 90% would fall and go do this within 2 years. Simon Sinek, 60 years later, had a provable theory that said that's true. And he said, if we can get 12% of the population to jump on board with LP 360, everybody else would. The point is, if you're not on the forefront, you're going to be late. Don't be late to the party. Go to lp360.com or lifeplan360.com, and you'll see everything about how to get involved. It's really simple. We try to keep everything simple. And there's a boot camp coming up April 28, 29, 30th in Dallas. I'll be there for the full 3 days doing all the live training. It's powerful, guys. I know you can do it on virtual, but those that have done virtual and went to the in-person are absolutely crazy. They love the way better the in-person part. So go on to Life Plan 360. You'll get a phone call back from one of our internal employees, between Jose or Claire, Michelle, Jason, BJ, myself. Somebody will get a hold of you. So go on and register today. Don't miss this.
Absolutely. Hey guys, so again, we have a lot of great messages here. So we're not going to have time to get into all the questions, but the boot camp will definitely change your life for sure. Guys, the software will change your life. Staying plugged in. Our mission here is to help the hurting agent. That's our battle cry. We want to help the hurting agent. We want to create 100,000 six-figure income earners in this business, showing the hurting agent how they can make 6 figures in this business. That's why boot camp is so critical. The software is so critical. What we're doing, our message is so important, so critical. John, man, thank you so freaking much, man. So happy to have you on the call, buddy. Guys, go to Instagram page. Make sure you go to Instagram. Instagram of I Can Financial, Instagram I Can Financial on Facebook. What is the software? Go to lp360.com. You'll see the software there. Go to lp360.com. So guys, we can't go through all the questions here, man. We see the questions. This is awesome. Really quick, guys, if you like all this, give me a fire emoji if this was good for you guys. If you like the Zoom format that we're using with John and I, we'll do it better next week, where you'll be able to see our cameras more better, and we'll see your faces too. Give me some fire signs. Show me some fire. Show me fire.
That girl is on fire.
Hey, fire emoji. Awesome. Good job, guys, man. Good job. Hey, I'm on the loose. I like that. All right, fire times 10. Fantastic. All right, guys. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. We'll see you guys on the next call. And this is fantastic. John, man, you are awesome.
Peace out, guys.
I think we're on to something here, John. But we'll see you guys.